forward.
Business trends beyond the headlines.
We had a substantial amount of capital available to invest.
Government policies, macro indices, market movement. Business Express on Smooth 98.1 in association with Stanbic IBTC.
Can you see his face? Come this way a little bit.
Stanbic IBTC, moving.
Good morning to you, and thank you very much for joining us this morning inside of Business Express. That is the name of the show, the segment right now you're listening to. You're tuned in to Smooth 98.1, and my name is Valentine, and I have as guest this morning Wonuola Akanbi from Stanbic IBTC. Good morning to you.
Morning, Valentine.
Good morning, Wonu. Thank you so very much for coming into the studio this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Wonu is from Stanbic IBTC. Let us understand really your role in Stanbic IBTC. So we're referring to you tomorrow, not just, you know how you see doctors and you assume they are Mr. And then you now realize they're medical doctors. You say, I'm sorry, doc. So tell us about your role at Stanbic.
All right, thank you, Valentine. Thank you for having me here. My role basically entails managing institutional investors. And institutional investors, I mean local banks and foreign banks, and we also have non-bank financial institutions like insurance companies, asset managers, and pension funds. Both local and foreign. And in terms of products we offer, it ranges from FX. It's broadly categorized into FX and interest rate products. On FX, we have sports. On the derivatives, we have forwards and FX swaps. And for the interest rate products, we've got fixed income instruments like bonds, treasury bills, and then we also have derivatives like interest rate swaps, cross-currency interest rate swaps, cross-currency repos, and fixed income forwards. So my role basically entails, giving these institutional investors market updates, and update them on what's happening in the economy, guide them towards the opportunities we have in the market, make them understand exchange controls, the exchange controls we also have in the market, and then basically managing all that relationship on behalf of Stanbic IBTC.
So you're the right guy to go to if you have this question, this simple request. Show me the money. This is the guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy. Let us join the conversation by sending messages to us through WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. That's 0809 4440981 for your messages. You can also join us via YouTube. Type in the search box Smooth 91 FM Lagos, and you can see us there. And feel free to leave a comment on Twitter. If you want to send us messages through Twitter, use that hashtag Business Express 91 so we can see your messages. Thank you very much, Wonu. I can call you Wonu for short, yes?
Correct.
All right, cool. So where are things on stock market as far as Nigeria is concerned? We see negative returns, oil prices falling, and elections coming up in 2019. Can you talk a little bit about where you see things from your area of coverage and discussions you've been having with your clients?
Looking at where we are right now, we're almost rounding up. We're almost rounding up the year, and if you look at the performance from a fixed income perspective, Nigeria has, outperformed most of the emerging market peers in terms of return, and that's largely due to the exchange rate stability. We've been anchoring around 360 levels. We've been range bound, between 359 and 363 levels. From year to date. And that has given investors a stable return on their investments. Right now everyone is more or less risk neutral, just strategizing for the next year.
So when you say risk neutral, people are not taking risks.
From a foreign portfolio investor perspective, a lot of them are just more cautious. They've made money year to date, so instead of adding more risk, it's just more strategizing for the next year. Protecting what they have
after the officials have been elected.
Yeah, well,
before they can make it. Yeah.
Yeah, the main topic right now obviously is elections.
Yes.
Now that we now know what the major opposition is, what the investors would want to know is if the current government wins, do we have as the policies? Continuity of policies, and then if it's the new government coming in, are they going to be investor friendly? Doing business in Nigeria, is it going to be easier? So they're just basically just analyzing things from policy perspective. So if the current government wins, they already understand their perspective with regards policy, and if it's the opposition, then they would have to also make their analysis, on that.
Okay.
And then, other things they also look at. Basically at the influencers of the market. Body language of the CBN. And also with the dwindling reserves, what our views are around interest rates. Much earlier in the year, interest rates were much lower than this because we had stable reserves. But as we start to see the demand, we start to see CBN obviously use interest rates to defend the currency by increasing them.
I'm glad you mentioned that one because that leads us very nicely into the next topic, talking about foreign reserves. They keep dropping, and as at yesterday, it had fallen to 41.6 billion US dollars from a high 47 billion US dollars back in July. Can you tell us your thoughts on where the reserves are and the CBN strategy of defending the naira, like you just started mentioning about the raising interest rates and all that?
Yeah, the dwindling reserves is, just talks about basically the demand we're seeing, and CBN has basically been one of the major suppliers of foreign exchange. So if you put numbers to this, looking at the interventions they've been making into the market in different windows, in the SMEs market, currently they've done about $11.7 billion.
For SMEs?
Yeah. Well, no, not for SMEs. And these are more trade-back transactions for importers and manufacturers.
And manufacturers, okay.
Yeah. And they've intervened about $11.7 billion in that market year to date. Other spot interventions have about $108 million. And then for the SMEs that you mentioned, SMEs, PTA, school fees,
yes,
and things like that, they've intervened about $5 billion in that market. So initially, we used to see good support back when the reserve peaked around May to July.
Yes.
We had about 47 billion then. We did have good support from foreign portfolio investors, but that has since calmed down, and we now had from net inflows to net outflows from foreign investors.
But do you see that? Do you think, in your professional opinion, that the back and forth between CBN and MTN and the fines, and all that, do you think it affected or influenced investor apathy?
Well, foreign portfolio investors, right, are more concerned around. They'll look at all those negative news, but they are more concerned really around exchange rate stability, because it's more of like a carry trade. You borrow dollars, you convert to naira, you invest in
so
foreign,
that all that chatter
asset.
in the news does not affect them.
Well, they would be concerned, but I think that's more for equity investors, right? Those are the ones that and foreign direct investment, people that actually set up businesses here to want to know how friendly the investors are.
Okay.
But obviously those other guys would also read the body language of the regulator. If
Yes.
they see that they are not being rational, then definitely it still poses a cause of concern for them.
Okay.
But foreign portfolio investors are more concerned about what's happening in the economy, exchange rate stability, and what's also happening with other emerging market peers. So going around, so why are we seeing this drop? When we start seeing net outflows from foreign investors, we didn't see that support. So CBN needed to, intensify their intervention in the market, and that's the reason why we've seen that drop to 41 billion. But looking at yesterday that they just issued new Eurobonds, I do expect that would definitely support the reserves. They did about 2.8 billion yesterday, and so if you add that to the current levels, we should probably be up to about 44 billion later on.
I'm glad you mentioned Eurobonds because that seems to be a bit of your forte. So tell us how. I mean, don't give me that look, but just give us an insight into what Eurobonds are and really the benefit of investing in them.
Well, I mean, Eurobonds are excellent debt instruments,
Okay.
and typically they are just debt issued in another currency other than the home currency or the market currency. They're issued by corporates, international syndicates, governments, to basically access the international markets. And typically, I mean, like Nigeria yesterday just issued about 1.1 billion of the 7-year at 7.625. They also issued 1 billion of the 12-year maturing 2031 at 8.75 yield, and they also issued a 30-year bond maturing in 2049, which has a yield of 9.25. So typically, the way these bonds work is that, I mean, they pay coupons, that's interest payments, biannual, and in terms of risk perspective, you're exposed to the risk of the issuer. So if you're going to invest in them, you know that you're taking the underlying risk of the issuer. If there's a default from the issuer, and I mean that's basically the risk you're taking. And for investors who really want to know how it definitely works, I mean if you have foreign obligations and you want to protect yourself against devaluation, and you have some foreign currency, you can definitely invest in this instrument and get steady interest payments on those. And then for corporates as well, it's just more for them to take advantage of lower interest rates, compared to the NGN. I always advise people that issue this, you must have dollar receivables, because if you don't have dollar receivables and you're exposed to you buying dollars, then you might be worse off going into the market to tap the euro.
So for the other man who's listening on the street, what are dollar receivables in brief? Like what do they refer to? How do you explain it down?
Okay, so like I'll just use the Nigerian government for instance. The reason why we're able to confidently issue these bonds is because we sell oil crude and then we receive oil proceeds. I mean, we receive dollars from our oil proceeds, and immediately, I mean, that can now be used to repay the bonds at maturity.
Okay, so that's a receivable in itself.
Yes.
We have a message here from Yemi. Yemi says, "Hello, Wonu. What kind of investment and potential yield can I do with 1.5 million for 6 to 9 months?"
So, with regards Eurobonds or just investment?
He just wants to get free investment advice.
Oh, okay, sure. I mean, I'll probably just advise you to do treasury bills. I mean, if it's local currency, I mean, if you look at the auction yesterday, that closed at about 13.16%. So you can buy a 182-day bill or something around that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's leave it there. Let's leave it there, Wonu. Because we're out of time. Thank you very much. Wonuola Akanbi is from Stanbic IBTC. He's a man of many parts, especially when it comes to investments, portfolios, and making the right choices. But make sure you do your due diligence and do your research before you make any form of investment. As we give you advice here from Business Express and Smooth 98.1. Special thanks to you there.
All right, thanks for having me.
Good to have you in the studio. All right, coming up next, Lagos, we'll have a very interesting conversation with someone from Page Financials, and it'll be very interesting. You shouldn't miss that as well. At 7:30, we'll bring you detailed analysis of our newspaper stories inside of Freshly Pressed 981. Good morning.
Business trends. The headlines.